Rob J gave me an incredibly generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon and brings you today's video. Eshki team as Raw versus Kotis, Mendicant Core and Fellothar. Well, we've got a decent number of new commanders here, which is good to see. I've just tried running Kotis and don't have the best of luck with players actually deciding to stick it out with that commander, unfortunately. Obviously we are not going to have that problem personally. Not about to quit on my own video. We don't have any ramp there. And this is a very mana hungry deck, so we don't want to be just limping our way up to all the big heavy stuff. So we mulligan into a hand, where we can actually get down Birds of Paradise, means a turn 2 commander. Hopefully can get some creatures off the Smuggler's Surprise, so we'll keep this. Draw into a mountain, which is good for the Arena of Glory. That means that we still have to go for, I was going to say a tropical island, but it'll have to be a tiger here. Mendicant Core on turn 2 is going to start the engines. A talisman from Kotis. Then a Rishkar's Expertise for us, so we're going to need to see some big creatures to be played into that. Let's go for a turn 2 Eshki and hope it sticks in play. Kambal Profiteering Mayor, the first one from Fellothar. So I was maybe gone for Toughness Matters as opposed to the Defenders. Silvermere for Mendicant Core, and has a creature or an opponent that he can swing in with still. A Silvermere for Mendicant Core and has an opponent he can swing in at, so yeah, wide open, goes into the right. 3 commander damage and we'll go up to level 2. Kotis the Fangkeeper into play as well. And then a Goreclaw Terror of Kalsisma is a good one to get into play here. So that will trigger our commander for the first time, a plus counter, and we'll draw a card as well. Draws us into Shaman of the Great Hunt, which will be really good if we can stick a bunch of big creatures into play. Evolution Witness for the Abzan player, can grab back permanents with plus counters. Padim going to give the artifacts hexproof. And then there is a Dispatch onto the Goreclaw, so this is pretty much how it's going to go. Interesting that he didn't exile the indestructible creature. I have noticed this, that on the few attempts I've had with Eshki, it is something that players seem to be fearing. 3-3 trying to trade a 3-3, I don't think we're going to do. Another Talisman for the Sultai player. And then it's a Damnation, so takes everything out anyway. Bet he wishes he'd use the exile on this now. And the 2-1 swings in down the middle, so might be able to get a couple of artifacts here. Well, there's one, an Arcane Signet. Exiled a Research Thief as well, but unable to cast that due to the mana value. Right, so by turn 4 we've only got 4 lands, there's been no land ramp unfortunately. So let's play the Shaman of the Great Hunt. I'll attack down the middle, seeing as how we exiled our creature. And when that hits it gets a plus counter on itself, so 3 toughness, a lot better than 2. Oran Frostfang for hitting our opponents with Death Touch and drawing cards. Mendicant Core coming down again, and it plays a Nesting Bot, so when this creature dies create a servo. We see an aura here. I went for equipment myself, but it could be a mixture of equipments and auras. +1 and can't be blocked. So a 3-1 that goes into the left this time. Also has in play a Witch's Clinic and a Felwar Stone. Only 1 card in hand. And exiles 3 lands off the top, which has happened with me with that commander as well. Just some bad luck. A Reality Shift is a means of exile. But I think we're just going to have to get down our commander here. So we can't block this thing anyway, and I imagine it's going to swing in towards us regardless, not that there's anything we could do about it because it's unblockable. So let's get another plus counter on the Shaman. Oran Frostfang swings into the right as well with a Death Toucher, so we'll draw a card here. And then Bajuka Bog is going to exile the graveyard of the Mendicant Core player. Fellothar in after the board wipe, and there's a Hardened Scales in play as well, which I've missed at some point. 1-1 goes into the right as well, so it will be level 4 here, 3 cards in hand. Hasn't played any cards, so we'll be able to copy some artifacts maybe. And then plays a Fact or Fiction. Looks as though the player on our left here is going to be choosing between all this, so Gingerbrew probably useless now that he's leveled up. Okay, just decided to give him all the cards. I don't think he knew what he was doing there clearly. So Liquimetal Talk, see if he wants to make a copy of. He does, so 2 of these enter. Might as well play the Gingerbrew and copy it here, I suppose. One card in hand for the Sultai player, a Nature's Law, will get an untapped land, after which is a Branching Evolution, so we'll see if our opponent has spread himself too thin amongst different archetypes here. This is why I went all in on equipment, because you can more likely top deck into something that's of relevance. But he's still doing some work with this aura, most likely, see if he does swing in towards us. No, he didn't swing in at all, okay, so he wants to hold back the Indestructible. I think I'll definitely be swinging in every turn with this, because you can always get into blockers if you're lucky. Okay, more spot removal for us. We're just not seeing the lands that we want, unfortunately, so let's try the Tyrox, which is just a 4/1 vanilla creature. Don't often play vanilla creatures in Magic, because if we got into green there, it would have been alright to Rishkar's Expertise and draw in some stuff. And there we go, there's the breeding pool. So I think I still want to get down the demolition field, because then we can try to fix our colours a bit better, as well as hold up Smuggler's Surprise and the Reality Shift. So the Mendicant Core currently a 7/3, we can block with that if we want to. Let's just continue to try and keep the power up on the Shaman, just in case that Rishkar's Expertise is of some relevance. We'll go to the left against the 3/3 Commander. And with the Demolition Field, you do bring the land in untapped, so we'd still be able to hold up Reality Shift or Indestructible and Hexproof on this. Anyway, it allows it through as we assumed it would, so this is now a 7/5. Distinct lack of creatures here though, there's 39 in the list. And yeah, seems as though there's some revenge coming our way. It's just the 2 powered snake, so we're just going to take the 2 and give them the card draw here. And then there's a Grave Pact, so yeah, we're going to have to be wary of the fact that our opponent could get into a sack outlet or something. Does this trigger on attacks? Yes, it does. So that might have to eat a Chaos Warp. For some reason, the Mendicant Core player is timing out here, so hopefully we don't see a scoop. Would any of us be surprised though? Alright, does decide to play it out. There is the Verbose Host, so gets double card draw now. Azorius Signet likely gets doubled. Ginger Brute can't be blocked this turn, and the other one can't be blocked this turn either. So we get both of the 1/1s, and then we'll go through to the end step. So I want to get rid of this thing, because it can give hexproof to this if we decide to exile it. And we'll just grab a forest, so still got the mana for the Smuggler's Surprise if we change our mind. Farseek means that Kotis has 0 cards in hand now. Again, decides to pass through the turns, so I think I'm going to go for the Reality Shift onto it anyway. They can just recast it again next turn regardless, but they lose the aura at least. I'm surprised they're not swinging in with it. They've lost out on a decent number of spells so far. Need to be really aggressive with this thing. It's not just a dumb Indestructible that you hold back as a blocker. But that buys us a few turns against it at least. Priority being held up by... okay, and just straight up gets him to scoop, fair enough. Yeah, priority was being held up by one of the players then, I couldn't see who it was. Again, a non-creature spell we're drawing into, in Gimli's Reckless Might. Let's just go for the Rishkar's Expertise and actually try and get something going here. Yeah, the Abzan player's holding up priority, as is the Azorius player, so hopefully this gets through, because we've had a terrible game so far. We do draw the 7 cards, and there's a Goldspan Dragon. Really like the Monstrous Vortex as well. I think it has to be Goldspan thanks to the haste. Just make sure we can get through. And that will put a plus counter and draw us a card with the Commander. Might even be worth holding up the double mana for keeping our stuff in play with this. I'll probably regret not holding that up if we lose our board to a wipe. And we draw into another land. It might even be that next turn we could go for the Indestructible thing and Blasphemous Sack. That would only be 3 mana. Anyway, let's swing in and hope he doesn't have an Ganjo held up, because that will be 4 damage on an attacking creature. We get the treasure token regardless. So if he lets that come down first, we can always go Indestructible. Wow, does he actually have it? Oh no, it's a Reality Shift. So we get a treasure token at least. Do we use the Smuggler's Surprise then to keep that in play? Because that will give hexproof. Yeah, it's only until the end of the turn. Whatever. It's one less thing for us to discard at least. So hexproof and Indestructible onto our stuff with the Smuggler's Surprise. If we'd drawn into some big creatures here, which we somehow haven't managed to, then I maybe would have held on to that to cheat them into play. And this at least means that with the treasure token, assuming the dragon does stay in play, we can go for Nature's Law. Maybe an untapped land into Cultivate will probably be better. So the Reality Shift will fizzle here. Obviously we got the treasure token from the targeted removal of our opponent, so get another one on the attack trigger, and then actually hit our opponent for 4, taking him down to 28, which means a plus counter from the Ogre onto the Dragon, making it a 5-5. And yeah, let's shut down the breeding pool and play ourselves a Cultivate. This will give us an untapped land for next turn if we need it. And this means that we have to discard 2 cards here, so let's make it a land. And is Animar just too slow at this point? I think it might be. Animar's one of the few creatures in the deck that obviously it builds up to a discount on your big creatures, but you need to get it out early enough in order for that to be relevant. One of the few creatures that doesn't have high power. A Triumph of the Horde is going to give +1/+1 an Infect. I don't know where all the Infectors come from today. Keep running into it. So there's a 4/4. They can sacrifice a non-land permanent in order to put plus counters, 2 plus counters on things. 3/7, I think we just have to chump block. Yeah, both coming in towards us, not worried about Mendicant Core at all. This has trample anyway, so we probably just take the damage. Weird that he's not going for the Alpha Strike with this, and decided against sacrificing something for plus counters, which does surprise me. Alright, he might have a means of further buffs. Chroma's Will. Oh, right, okay. So is that double strike? Right. Well, that's that game done then. Just took too long, apparently. Voyager Quick Welder is going to make the artifacts cost 1 less, and gets a copy of that, so they cost 2 less. And he's swinging in with everything while he's wide open. He's hoping to not eat any more infect damage, which I don't imagine he'll see much more of, unless he can fish out Triumph of the Hordes from the graveyard maybe. He does have 7 cards in hand. And there is Scoot Swarm ready to break the client. Then plays a land into the Scoot Swarm, so puts a trigger on the stack for the first time, and there is a Stroke of Midnight onto the Grave Pact before anything can be sacrificed. Knocked him down to 29 and he's at 12 commander damage. Commander damage can really mount up with this thing. In fact, 1 more unblockable hit from it will knock him out. Has sacrificed fodder thanks to the Scoot Swarm now, so swings in with the Commander and the Aurum Frostfang again. And this time does sacrifice the token that the Stroke of Midnight gave him. Doesn't trigger the Grave Pact at least, but 2 plus counters on everything thanks to the Hardened Scales. Draws 2 cards thanks to 2 creatures hitting. Enduring Innocence after that will trigger on small creatures entering to draw. And we'll play a small creature with Champion of Lamholt, starting to see the plus counter shenanigans finally. So ends the turn at 6 cards in hand. A Thought Monitor comes down, so I imagine that was really cheap, and yeah, probably 1 mana, and then 1 mana to copy it as well. So do you draw 2 cards? Yeah, 4 cards in total. Goes up to 9 in hand, or actually, it would have been 8 cards he drew thanks to this. And then it's a Cloud Key being copied, which only costs 1 mana to play and another mana to copy thanks to the discount. So this is where Mendicant Core starts to go off. Our opponent better hope that he doesn't draw into a means of unblockable over here. Swiftfoot Boots was probably free, wasn't it? Equips a Boots to a Flyer and to another Flyer, so that suggests that he's not going to be able to get through with the Commander. Solemn Simulacrum and copies it. Then it looks as though Gingerbrute is going to be unblockable as well, so 6 cards in hand. It's unlucky if he can't do much more than this. Just swings in for 6. Unwinding Clock after that will untap everything. There was a Dam went onto something. Oh, it looks as though it went on the Commander. Commander went back into the command zone. Then plays a land to trigger the Scoot Swarm, which triggers the Champion of Lamholt. He drew a card to the Enduring Innocence as well. And all this stuff is going to become unblockable thanks to the Champion of Lamholt. It was a Fabled Passage, so it cracks the Fabled Passage to make landfall again. Makes 4 Scoot Swarms, so that will be 4 plus counters onto the Champion. This will be big enough to make it so that I don't think anything could have blocked anyway, but certainly won't be able to now. Gets double the counters, so jumps up to a 13/13. Inspiring Call to draw a bunch of cards and give Indestructible for whatever reason. Maybe he's playing around the fact that our opponent might have some means of removal. Goes up to 10 cards in hand. Sacks a Scoot Swarm to the Commander to put plus counters on everything. So there we go, goes down to -1 life. And that concludes the game. Not sure what everyone thinks about Infect in bracket 2. I'm not sure if that is too strong or not. I mean, everyone's going to have different opinions on brackets and all this. This is the eternal issue with it all. But Eshki seems to be a more difficult one to get games for than I thought she would be. She seems to be a bit of a lightning rod, and players tend to ignore other threats at the table just to focus on her, which surprises me. So it's just a case of players needing to learn the new set and learn who the actual threats at the table are, I think. But I'll keep trying. If you do or want to see Eshki, then you must let me know in the comment section as ever. Massive thank you to the patrons for their support of the channel as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.